In this segment, we will be showing you how to remove a two-piece crankset. In this case here, we have a Sram GXP design, but the process is similar for a Shimano Hollowtech 2 crankset. So first, when removing the two-piece crankset, on this crank, we need to take our 2mm and loosen the bolt that tightens the preloader. Then there is a slot where you insert your three-way and run it backwards. So now there is no more preloader on the bearing. Now we will take our Park 8mm hex, insert the square side. Now we need to turn this bolt here counterclockwise while holding the crank arm. Sometimes the bolt is very tight. Now that it's freed up, we can insert the ball end. In this case, it is self-extracting, where you do not need a crank puller. And there we have it. The drive side crank is off. Now, what you want to do is check for any spacers that are on the spline spindle. Remember where it came from and put it off to the side. Then, take your hammer, or as we like to call it, the swing press. Grab the crank with one arm and gently tap. Now, the non-drive side has been dislodged from the bottom bracket. So now, the crank spindle is ready for grease. I personally like to use Park Tool Polylube PPL2 grease. Take your brush or finger and you don't need to grease the entire thing. You just need to grease where the contact points are, which are located here. It's a bit hard to see in the video. However, you can see a different machined surface compared to the rest of the area. Now, we can take our non-drive side and reinsert it into the bottom bracket. Taking our drive side, making sure that it's exactly opposite of the non-drive side, using our 8mm again. Don't forget about your spacer if you had one, because I almost did. Now, we'll use our Park ratcheting torque wrench, TW6, and set it to 54 Newton meters. So now, since we went counterclockwise to pull the crank off, we will be now going clockwise to torque the crank arm on. Insert the hex tool. Make sure to always grab the handle and never here, as your torque wrench will not work properly. Now that you've heard that click, that implies that the torque wrench has gotten the bolt to the appropriate torque. Now, we flip the bike around once more. So now we need to adjust the preloader. So now we need this piece here to come in contact with the base of the bottom bracket. We'll insert the tool there. Now we will use the two to tighten the bolt there. Now, your crank is all back together, serviced and greased.